I'm Rachel Pollard. I want to find out what happens to growing startups on the cusp of greatness. What does an entrepreneur do when the euphoria of a great idea wears off and the true test begins? I'm Rachel Pollard, and I want to find out what happens when a startup moves beyond an idea, when things start to get real, when things start to get, well, weird. Hey everybody, thanks for joining me. I'm here with Verinder Syal. Thanks for joining me.
My pleasure.
So before we were chatting a little bit about how passion leads into entrepreneurship, and by doing what you love, you can make a difference.
You know, I'm not sure passion leads into entrepreneurship. Passion leads into a better life. Entrepreneurship can do that too. What I try and help young people understand is the Venn diagram. We've seen all of them, right? The three circles. So if you have passion on one side and skills on the other side, and the third circle is making a living. You got to balance all three. So let me give you two examples. Many people, my students for example, if they focus only on how much money they can make because their friends are making a lot of money and everybody's going to Goldman Sachs or McKinsey or Google or what have you, that's okay because they're great companies. But what I'm most interested in is, do you really love doing that, or are you doing that because that's where the most money is? I like making money. I think capitalism is the best system known to mankind. But I think the more important question is, are you doing what you love? So my hypothesis is that if you have passion and you have the skills, it's likely you can make a pretty good living. But passion is what gets us up in the morning and want to run to work. And so I think it starts there. And next thing then you check to see is, do I have the skills? And then only do I want them to think about, how can I make a living? But you must make a living. You must get off your Bank of Dad card.
Definitely. And so, yeah, going back to that, we're kind of always talking about, what is your why? Why do you do what you do? What gets you up in the morning and gets you excited about living or coming to work? Why do you do what you do?
Okay. You know, I've been rather lucky all my life. And I got to the United States when I was 22, came to Ann Arbor, and that's a pretty good place to come to. Yeah. And you know, this is a country of dreams, and all dreams can be fulfilled here. And I'm sort of a symptom of the American dream as far as I'm concerned. And I came here for education, lived here, decided to live here legally, and managed to run some large companies, some names such as Quaker Oats and Captain Crunch and Aunt Jemima and Rice-A-Roni and Ghirardelli Chocolate. I got to run all those businesses. In which part of the world can that happen? So that is a dream. Then I've also managed to raise a family. I managed to start companies on my own. And then about 12 years ago, more on a lark, a dare maybe, I fancied myself as a pretty good teacher because I was very good at speeches and teaching people in my companies. So I thought I could become a good professor. So just as a dare, I decided to teach a class. So I begged all the universities here to let me teach a class, and I sort of made them an offer. I don't need any money. Let me teach a class. You've probably had a bad class before, so if it's a bad class, write me off. On the other hand, I may give you the most phenomenal class you ever had. And so Loyola University allowed me to do it, and that's how I got teaching. And what I discovered in the 12 years I've been doing it is that I've developed a passion that I never thought was there. Would you like to know why?
Yes.
Okay. Let me tell you why. Initially, it was about how good were my lectures. Did I sound smart? Did the kids think I was smart? They thought I was smart. The university thought I was smart. I thought I was smart. We were unanimous. But somewhere in there, I got to asking, did the kids learn anything? So that is the next evolution from great lectures to did the students learn anything? So I started the case study method in my classes, so lots of discussion, lots of interaction. But as I went along further, I discovered that the real purpose of a teacher is to help a student discover what's inside them. That came to me not through a book, but every year I do it. I only do it once a year. That's all the time I have. I found myself more and more attracted to these young people, and as they were searching for something in life, I could see the great talent they had, the great gifts they had, but they couldn't see that in themselves. That's what a mentor is supposed to do. That's what a teacher is supposed to do. Frankly, all the stuff we teach you can find in a book. What you cannot find is somebody who'll kick your butt, demand things from you, help you discover how great you are. That's what I think a teacher really does, and that's why I get so passionate about this stuff here.
That's amazing. Sounds like a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun. Can I tell you a story that I just did this summer?
Yeah.
I was going to go to Colorado, where I have a house, and spend the summer there. Yeah, life's not too bad.
No.
And then somebody told me about this program called Young African Leadership Initiative. It's something President Obama started a couple of years ago. And they bring in young entrepreneurs from Africa between the ages, let's say, 20 and 35, from all the countries. Now, I'm not much for government programs, and I said, no, thank you. But one of my colleagues said to me, hey, Verinder, those young people are phenomenal. And I got to thinking, what if I had 25 young people from Africa in my classes? Could we perhaps touch their lives in a way that could actually make a difference? So I volunteered to do this. I gave up my vacation for 6 weeks in Colorado, and I was a summer in Chicago. It was the best 6 weeks of class I ever had in my life. Because these were these were people who actually had businesses. 2/3 of them married with children, so they were real people, not like students who are not sure. But they come from a place where things just don't happen. And they were here to learn, at least I decided they were here to learn, why America works. And I was determined to show them what's right about America, which includes hard work, which includes speaking up, which includes thinking for yourself, which includes the right to fail. So over 6 weeks, we ran sort of two classes together, entrepreneurship and leadership. And I must tell you, we had tears in our classes. People cried when we did self-assessments and self-reflection. I cried, they cried. We thought about ourselves. We thought about what will they do when they go back home? How are they going to run their businesses differently? But more importantly, what are they going to do with their lives? Questions they never asked themselves. And I was pretty sure we would change their lives. What I had no idea about, I had no expectation came as a big surprise to me, is how they changed my life.
Learned a lot.
I learned a lot, and I learned, Africa, I hear about it, I see all the foreign aid, I know all the poverty, but the people are just like the young people here.
Right.
They have the same aspirations, the same needs, they're men, women, the same things. But the obstacles they face are 1,000,000 times greater here. The system doesn't work. Okay? Corruption's everywhere. While the women here complain a lot, the women there actually have no rights. Honestly, it's a patriarchal society where if you're a successful woman, you're pretty much on your own. And we had 11 women and 14 men from 21 countries. I was just in awe of what the women had done. The guys were pretty good. And I'm not a women's liberal or anything like that, but I just saw these people who, despite amazing odds, they were determined to succeed, and many of them were giving employment to the people who had no other place to go to. So here's what I told them. If they made their 1-year plan, they were going to develop a plan and send it to me. And if they did that, I would fly to Africa, to their country, and come celebrate to them. That's my commitment. I'll see what they do.
Wow. So when's the year up?
Well, they just left me.
Oh,
they haven't even gone back home, because after they left us, they went to the White House. They got to see President Obama. Then they went to Congress, got to see those people, just like all the things we Americans get to do. We don't get to do any of this, but these young people got to do this. They're called the Mandela Washington Fellows. And I am just in awe of them. And look, when you meet somebody, Rachel, you never know what impact you're going to have on them. A lot of people say they're going to do things, right? Entrepreneurs say that.
Right.
But an entrepreneur is somebody who actually does something. I'm going to see whether they'll do the things we talked about. If they do it, then I'm happy to take a plane ride and go celebrate with them.
Awesome. So actually doing what you say you're going to do.
You know, I don't know what other way is there to live in life. Otherwise, everything you say is really what I'll call the Facebook or the fake book syndrome. You live for others. I mean, I hear all my students tell me that they have, one young lady, I must give the example, she told me in the second class, "Hey, Prof, I cannot be an entrepreneur." I said, that's pretty early to decide. She said, well, I just found out from the case we studied that you have to have lots of contacts, know lots of people. I don't know anybody in life. I thought that was strange because her brother had recommended her to me in my class, and she's from a pretty well-to-do family in Highland Park. So I said, strange. So I asked her, I said, do you do this thing called Facebook? Because I don't do it, but do you do it? She said, yes. I said, don't you have things called friends there or some such thing? Yes, I have 1,038 friends and I hate every single one of them. Wow. She said in class. And the class erupted in laughter. But it got me thinking. What is real and what is not real? Mm-hmm. And entrepreneurship and life really are about figuring out what's real and following that path, which may mean a lonely journey, as opposed to all these friends who, are snapping everything they eat and every dessert they had, every meal they have, they put it on photographs and they share. But will they be there when you have a need? Will they answer your call if you're stuck someplace? I'm less sure of that. So this young lady, I gave her an exercise. I said, I want you to go home tonight, and I want you to figure out, are there 10 people on earth who would answer your phone call if you were in trouble and report to us? She came back and said, I do know 10 people. And I said, then you have a network. You don't need to know a million people. You see, quantity is not it. You got to be true to yourself. When you try to be true to others and pretend and see if they'll like you or wear clothes that they'll like you or say what they want to hear, you're losing yourself. If you lose yourself, what else is left? So, one of my students coined a term 12 years ago at Loyola University. She said, leadership is the capacity for aloneness. I've always loved that. It's not loneliness, but capacity for aloneness. To have the strength of character to stand for something and go your path even if you're the only one on that path that day. Entrepreneurship requires that from time to time.
Wow. We talk about when you're an entrepreneur, sometimes you have the highest highs and the lowest lows. Mm-hmm. Can you share a few examples about that from your journey?
Can I broaden it out from more than entrepreneurship? Just, because I ran some big companies and entrepreneurship, even teaching. This is where perhaps we need to listen to the Buddha. He said, everything passes. This too shall pass. So when you have the high highs, I promise you they're going to pass. And when you have the low lows, I promise you they too will pass. And part of life is trying to figure out how to be sort of in the middle ground. Because, the high highs don't belong to you. So when one of my students does something sensational, I have a smile. I feel like maybe just I had something to do with it, but it doesn't really belong to me. And if a student doesn't do something, well, it's really not my life. So same way in business, okay? You have high highs, you get a great client, and suddenly you make your sales numbers, everybody tells you you're a phenomenal person. Mm-hmm. The next day, the same people will tell you you're an idiot. So part of all of this, what I'm saying, Rachel, is you have to figure out for yourself, what is it that you're trying to do, and who you are, and make that your Rosetta Stone, and keep touching that. The outside world will give you accolades and throw you in the dumpster the next day, honestly. If you live by that, you'll die by that. So go figure out who you are. So if you have a good business idea and you really believe in it, then go do it. If you get 10 new clients, high five it for 5 minutes, then get back to work. If you lose a client, cry for 5 minutes and get back to work. Because life goes forward, not backwards. It has been said.
Makes sense. And you're coming out with a book soon.
I hope so. Next month, that's my deadline. It's called Unleash the Entrepreneur Within. And the subtitle is Live Life on Your Own Terms. And it's really, what I was thinking about was that, look, in my classes, these are young people, journalism majors, anthropology, some engineers, some economics majors, etc. They're not sure they want to be entrepreneurs as yet.
Right.
What I'm hoping to do is, in my classes, to give them a sense of what's possible. So two things can happen. One, when they're ready, when they have a big job and 3-5 years later they're bored to death, they have a possibility of starting something else because an idea has been embedded. The second thought is, whatever entrepreneurs do, actually you can apply the same principles to everything in life. And if you're a doctor, taking care of your customer is a pretty good idea.
Right.
Being on time is a good idea. Making money is a good idea. Okay? Being ahead of the curve is a good idea. So it doesn't matter what profession you're in. You know, if you're at Google or if you're at McKinsey or Goldman Sachs, it doesn't matter. The same principles apply. The entrepreneurial principles are essentially about problem, solution. That's it, which we can apply to our life. So I've had pretty good success with my students who get very excited by the time they're done with me. They are not as happy during the middle of the class because they're buried with the work and I'm very demanding. But by the end, the vast majority seem to have discovered something. So I got to thinking that if I'm lucky, I'll teach maybe, I've taught as of right now about 470 odd students in my life.
Wow.
And maybe I'll reach 500, 600, 700. But there's a whole lot of people I never get to meet. So what if I could write a book and do exactly what I do in class, and for the right person, it'll work well. And at the very least, it's a great journey for me to capture all my thoughts and share them. The Buddha said, you know, give of yourself and of your knowledge. Everything I've learned, somebody's taught it to me. I didn't have any knowledge when I was born. I learned it from somebody. It doesn't belong to me. It's meant to be given away. Now, there are a zillion books on entrepreneurship. You know, why? You know, I'm not a 27-year-old billionaire, and I'm not a tenured professor who's studied entrepreneurship from the fortress of academia. I'm a fellow who's actually done this stuff, sometimes well, sometimes poorly. I'm a pretty good teacher, and I figured I had a way of explaining things that other people don't have. So I took exactly what I do in class and tried to put chapters around them, and found it was harder than I expected, because class is easy. You know, you can talk to somebody.
Right.
You ask a question, they answer, you look smart. They are smart, but you're looking smart because they answer the question. But when you write, you have to do both sides of it. So it's taken me a year, and I enrolled three of my students, my daughter who's an aspiring writer too, some young people essentially, to edit my stuff and give me feedback like, this really sucks, or this is understandable, this is good. And you know what? I've rewritten the book about 3 times. I'm in the final stages right now. And I think it's going to read okay. And I'm doing it for myself. I'm doing it so I can take my knowledge and put it someplace and make me better. Because in doing this, I've learned new things.
Right.
I had to learn this stuff again. And the young people, as they came back with comments, I had to learn that again. Now, I'm hoping it'll help others. But I'm not going to kill myself, you know, if people say, hey, no big deal. But for me, it's been a great journey. I've learned a lot, and I've become an even bigger believer in entrepreneurship and ethical conduct.
Amazing. I'm excited to read it. Well, thanks for joining me.